Hey guys, my name's Nick. I'm a service technician here at the Inverter Service Center, and today we're going to be going over the Xantrex Freedom Basic Remote. This remote goes with the Xantrex Freedom 458 model inverter charger, and we're going to be going over how to set it up and what each value on the remote means. So if you guys are ready, let's dive on in.
Hey guys, like I said before at the beginning of this video, we're going to be going over the Xantrex Freedom Basic Remote. We're going to start on the left side of the remote and work our way over to the right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the battery state. This is represented by three little emblems of the battery, one low, one medium, and one high. They also have little LED indicators above them as well. What they represent is if you are inverting and not feeding your inverter AC power, whether shore power or generator, if you're inverting, they give you a rough estimate on where your battery life is at. If you are plugged into shore power, this is going to tell you what state of charge your battery's in. So this will either represent bulk, absorption, or float charging. Underneath battery state, we have AC in, fault, and over temp. They are also accompanied by LED indicators. If the AC in light is on, this means that you have incoming AC power feeding the inverter. So you're either plugged into shore power or have the generator running. If your fault light is on, this means there's something wrong with the inverter. If your over temp light is on, this means that the inverter has overheated for one reason or another and the cooling fan cannot keep up with it. Underneath these three lights, we have setup. If we hold this setup button down, this will allow us to switch to the setup feature on the remote and change the settings in the remote. To the right of that, we have the charge button. This light will be solid green if you are plugged into shore power or have the generator running. If the light is not solid green on the charge button, this means you have no incoming source of AC power. To the right of that, we have the invert button. The invert button light will stay on all the time. When you're in inverting mode, the charge light button should be off and the invert button should be on. When you're plugged into shore power or have the generator running, the charge light and the inverter light will both be on. You can also enable and disable the inverter with this button, and same with the charge button. You can also enable and disable the charger. If you're plugged into power or have the generator running, you can disable the charger with that button. To the right of the invert button, we have power share. This is going to allow us to set the amperage for the incoming AC breaker amps. So if we set it to 5, the inverter will not draw more than 5 amps on the AC input side. Same with 15, 20, 30. The next thing we'll talk about is the DC volts column. This is going to show you your battery voltage. So if you have 13 volts, it's going to light up to 13 volts. If you have 13.5 volts at the battery, it's going to light up to 13.5 volts. To the right of that is the DC amps column. This is going to show you how many amps you are either pushing into the batteries or pulling out of the batteries, depending if you are inverting or charging. So now let's talk about the setup. In the lower left-hand corner of the remote is the setup button. Once we hold this button down for about 5 seconds, all the lights on the remote should change. Once this happens, the values on the front of the remote are no longer the values represented in each column. Those values are now DC volts will change to set battery capacity, DC amps will change to set idle mode, incoming AC breaker amps will then change to set battery type. And all this can be found on the back of your remote. There's a little imprinted label with the front of the remote with the setup settings added on. So, set battery capacity. You need to figure out what size in amp hours your battery bank is. If you have a 400 amp hour battery bank, you need to set it to 400. If you have an 800 amp hour battery bank, you need to set it to 800. For example, let's say you have a 500 amp hour battery bank. The values between 600 and 400. I select 400 because I do not want to overcharge my batteries. Set idle mode, also known as search watts. Some of you are familiar with search watts and some of you aren't. For those who aren't, Search watts or search mode is a setting where the inverter will only turn on if it sees a load. So the inverter will only come on if you have, for example, your microwave on, your refrigerator kicks on, or you have your TV on. And you can set it to a set watts. So if we set it, for example, to 10 watts, the inverter will not come on unless it sees a load greater or equal to 10 watts. This is a setting to help conserve battery power so that your inverter is just not on and running and drawing your batteries down, but requires a load to actually turn the inverter on and then start drawing your batteries down. Next, we have set battery type. This is pretty straightforward, and this is going to give you an option for wet, gel 1, gel 2, or AGM batteries. Depending on what type of battery you have, you will set that up in here. This is going to help have a more efficient and accurate charge to your batteries. And that's going to be it on this remote, guys.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. If you found this video helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And we'll also have a link below in the description to where you can go on our website and purchase this remote if you'd like to. Also, remember, if you have issues with your own personal inverter, you can always give us a call at 615-285-0611. Our highly skilled technicians can help you try to troubleshoot the issue over the phone. And if you have to, send the unit in for further repair. So, thanks guys for joining us and have a great day.